Hello, folks. And that's it. I think last time you said,
I'm not going to say
I'm not going to say that. And we actually, we explained at one point what that was you were saying. Mm-hmm. We had some people this week, because we made some comment about it on our social media, and we actually had some people say that they didn't know what we were saying.
Right.
And so just so everybody knows, we were saying, here we come, cub.
Yep.
Because it's
like a bear cub.
Like a bear cub. It's in reference to when you go hiking and you're supposed to yell, "Hey, bear."
Yep.
So the bears will run away and not attack you.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that you can say is, "Here we come, cub."
Because Logan said it.
Well, Logan
on
was
our
saying
hike.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And
so
it
was just funny.
It was funny. Mm-hmm. So that's why we were saying that.
But no more.
well, part of the reason why, if you guys don't know why we say hello, folks, it is, well, I mean, we live in the South. I mean, that's part of it, folks,
sure.
And that's what we say to people.
Yeah.
But our favorite comedian is Nate Bargatze, and that's how he opens up all of his podcasts. He says, hello, folks. And so we love him. He's a believer, great guy, clean comedian. But then also they started also at some point saying, hey, bear.
Right.
So they open up every episode with, hello, folks, and hey, bear. But they don't even say it as fun as we do. I mean, we've taken what they started and made it.
Did we?
Yes.
Did we?
Because we give them the, hello,
right.
folks.
And everybody loved it when you said that. And they were like, oh, we didn't hear you say hello, folks.
Yeah, because we didn't do it a couple of times. So
so it just kind of stuck.
So hello, folks. Hello, folks.
And we're glad you're here.
This is Rusty and Heather Bryant, the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. So if we haven't met before, we don't know you, haven't seen you before, this is who we are and what we do. And we love encouraging marriages. We love helping to restore and give hope to marriages that are broken. And so that's what we are here to do. We do that through podcasts, through marriage coaching, through retreats. And, since the last time we talked, we had our big event, which was super fun. So look, if you see us talking about Cafe Zeno again in the future, sign up for it. It was so much fun. We had people from all over the country and from other countries.
Yep.
And we did our drawing, and we are going to California. And in case you don't know where we're from, we are not from California. In fact, we've never been to California. We are from Mississippi.
Yep. And our youngest son came up and drew it for us, so there would be no question on whether we rigged it or not. And I don't think he could have picked anything further away.
It was probably the furthest away from us. And it was not rigged. We put every name in there, and there were a bunch. It was, maybe 150 or so little pieces of paper. But he drew it, and we didn't even know where the city, which we won't say all that on the air. But but yeah, so we're hoping to. We've already connected with the couple. Yep. We're looking forward to it, and maybe you'll get to see some updates on that here in a few weeks.
Yes.
All right. We also, we set our retreat dates.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the Cafe Zeno, which means little cup of coffee in Portuguese, just come and fellowship with me. And on that call, we set our retreat dates. Everybody who was on that call or had registered for that call got the information about our retreats and the dates and the cost and are you interested form, and those are starting to fill up.
Yeah, they're rolling in, but if you're listening, you don't know what in the world we're talking about, on our website, under contact, there is a retreat inquiry form. You can go there, get a little more information. You can see the dates and stuff. But there is obviously this pecking order now.
Yeah.
So our marriage mentoring group, and then this group that came on our Cafe Zeno and got the first dibs on the dates and stuff. So, but they're going to keep filling up, and I guess we'll just keep finding dates to offer.
Right.
So, all right. So here we go today. Sorry, we just wanted to catch up on some things. It's been quite a week for us, and you guys may have seen some social media posts where we at least acknowledged and recognized that just a few days ago, at least at the time of this recording, was the anniversary of Heather's confession to infidelity. And that happened in 2011. So it's been 13 years ago, August 23rd, 2011. And when this comes out, it will be August the 26th, which is, yeah, I'm right. Mm-hmm. You're checking me. You're checking me on those dates, which is actually the day that more of the story came out. Right. Everything was sort of revealed. And then the cool thing was 1 year later, on August the 26th, you got baptized, rebaptized. So we started thinking, and we were like, hey, we need to acknowledge this. And can I just jump in first and say, we tell people all the time that the emotions and these triggers and things that happen, especially leading up to anniversaries, they just are not there. There's hope because they can be different. Yep. And we were busy on our anniversary date, which was great. I mean, I would recommend that to anybody. Yeah. Like, if you think that's going to be some sort of an issue or problem, then make yourself busy so you're not thinking about it. But we were busy that day, and we weren't even in town. And I was working on my computer. Somebody had sent me something. I needed to send a date to them. And I pulled up the calendar, and it was midday. I mean, it was noonish, somewhere around in there. And I pulled up the calendar, and I went, oh man, it's August 23rd. And I had actually thought about it, a couple of weeks before, here and there, leading up to it. And I even thought, it's next Friday, or it's this coming up Friday. But the day hit. And I mean, it was not the first thing that I thought of when I woke up that morning. Right. And people, I think, out there probably are like,
there's no way.
There's no way, or I want to be there.
That's right.
And I think that you can. And I even debated, I was like, should I say something? And just to acknowledge to you, like, so thankful where we are. Because it did not, when I thought about it, it didn't change my day at all. And I decided not to because we were with some family and stuff. But within probably 2 to 3 hours, you said something. You were like, oh, y'all know what today is? And you said something to the family we were with and with our family that we were with. And that was kind of it. But I just think, I mean, it's just such a story of God's redemption and how he restores. And it was just, it didn't affect the day. It didn't change the day at all. At least for me, it didn't.
Nope, it didn't. And I mean, our family member even said, how are you? How does that make you feel? Like, she dug a little bit. And I was able to say that there has been so much restoration and healing around this date. And we talk to people all the time about redeeming things, dates, places, all of those things, that it really, like, it didn't take the breath out of me. She was just like, do you deal with, shame and guilt more on this day? All of those things. And yeah, they come to my mind, but I know what to do with them. And I think that is what I'm learning about life in general. When the enemy attacks using whatever methods he does in your life, in my life, in our listeners' lives, that once you acknowledge it, you see it, you call it for what it is, and then you say, you're not having this, then it is, you are able to deal with those emotions and feelings and triggers so much better. So just knowing that they're coming, knowing that, we even said this weekend sometime, the enemy doesn't try new tricks. Like, he does the same thing over and over. And like, why does this surprise us that this is what he's attacking us with? And so, just knowing, I see ya. And I'm not giving this to you. I'm not giving this day to you. I'm not giving this moment to you. I'm not giving my thoughts to you. I'm going to choose to honor Christ with my thoughts. So, yeah, I mean, it's normal for it to come into your mind. Like we have said so many times on here that thoughts are not a sin. Like when the thought comes in your head, that's not a sin. It's what you do with it. And the enemy would want nothing more than for those thoughts, when they came into our minds, yours at noon, mine at 2, to completely derail us.
Well, for those of you that are listening that you've had a betrayal or some sort of trauma in your life, you know that, and in your marriage in particular, you know that this train of thought of when it comes into your mind, it's so easy to just start down the rabbit hole.
Right.
And like the key is that, just like what you said, you just take it captive. And, you know, I have learned to just quit thinking about, like, because even on that day, like right now, if I try to make myself think about it, you know, I could start down this path of, well, tomorrow is August the 26th. I mean, this is us as we're recording. We're recording on August the 25th, so tomorrow's August 26th. And I could go, man, that's the day everything came out. And then I could go, well, man, but, you know, some of it came out on August 23rd. So what was happening during those 3 days? And then I go, oh, wait, but on August the 23rd, that's when the confession happened. But the day before that, nobody knew. You were in the middle of it. So what was happening? You know, I could just... And then it just goes and goes. And what that is me still trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And it's impossible to do. And so I would just encourage anybody that's listening to this to do a couple of things when these anniversaries might hit. One is make yourself busy. And even if it's go do something fun with your spouse, you know, if that's what it needs to be. But then also just stop yourself from going down the rabbit hole, and don't chase the puzzle pieces. And still, it doesn't matter how long it's been, you know, whether it's been 3 years, 5 years, 13 years, just stop thinking about it. And you can make yourself stop thinking about it. There will be thoughts that come into your head, but you can stop the progression of those thoughts.
Right.
Now, the other thing, and this is what I just wanted to talk about today for a few minutes, is the other thing is that you think about the positives. And
this is how, like when you said you can stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
This is how you do that.
That's right.
You replace your thoughts. You can't, like, that's one thing that's so important. You hear people say, just don't think about it. I'm sorry, what? Like, how do you not think about it? But you replace your thoughts with different thoughts. And that's where you're talking about replace them with positive things.
And like what I've been thinking about just in the last few days is when I think about August the 23rd, 2011, and the question often comes up, and really I think about it sometimes, why did we stay together? You know, what were the reasons? And, you know, the results are obviously what they are, but they are a result of us choosing to stay together. And so as you think, well, why did we stay together? And then you can look back through 13 years and you can go, man, that's why we stayed together. And what if we had not stayed together? And as those negative thoughts come into your mind, you replace them with, wow, you know, I am so glad we made the choice to stay together because here we are. So when you think about why did you stay? You know, you got caught, you confessed, our worlds blew up. And, you know, even in the midst of that, you had a choice. And so why did you choose to stay?
Well, you know, we talk a lot about finding a reason to stay, even if it's not for the right one. And I mean, if the right one's not marriage. You know, if I couldn't just say, oh, I'm staying because I love you and I made a mistake. You know, if that's not my first thought, find a reason that you need to stay. And on that date, on August 23rd, 13 years ago, my reason was for staying was my boys. It's the thing that I held on to, that I was like, I can't lose them. I cannot do this, you know, split time. You get them half the time, I get them half time. And I know that's a lot of people's story, but I just was like, I have to stay for them. But then as I journeyed through the process and fell in love with the Lord and chased after him and started doing the hard work, because I knew that my heart was in a horrible place for me to have been able to do what I did, for me to have an affair. My heart was not in a place that was honoring God. So as I started doing the hard work, then my reasons became different. Then it was, you know, I love you, and I had vowed to love you for the rest of my life, in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health, and for richer, for poor, all of those things. And then it became a choice of honoring the Lord, and that I made a covenant relationship. I'm in a covenant relationship, and I said those words and made a covenant with the Lord that I would choose to do that and honor you for the rest of my days and honor him in my marriage. So my initial choice of why I chose to stay may not have been the best one, but it was a good one because it led me to dig for the real reason of why I should stay.
Yeah. I think that mine was probably one of the reasons was the same. You know, there was a lot right at the beginning. I mean, I even got legal counsel, like off the record legal counsel.
Right. Sure.
You know, that was telling me things to do just in case I needed to fight for the custody of our boys. And so, I mean, 100%, there were lots of thoughts of, you know, getting out of the relationship. And part of that is because I didn't know what you were going to do.
Sure.
I mean, if you didn't change and repent, and we tell our couples this all the time when we're coaching, is that the person that has failed and has betrayed, they are so much of the catalyst of the success of the marriage and moving forward. And I think that the betrayed, which, I mean, it is definitely warranted, but the pats on the back and the, you know, you're the one that stuck it out and stayed together. And yes, all of that is so true. But the success after staying is really the result of how much the betrayer has changed. And so I didn't know if that was going to happen in your heart. And I knew that biblical grounds of divorce. I mean, and not only that, but just thinking through, you know, the influence and what was going to happen to our kids because of the lifestyle that you were choosing to live at that time. And so I was ready to fight if I needed to fight. But I was also willing to take a step back and see what God was going to do.
Right.
And so, yes, there was, I mean, I had a phone call to a friend within the first few days, and it was a friend that had grown up in a divorced home. And he actually said to me, he said, "You're not going to hear this from many people and maybe not anybody else." But he said, "Stay together for the kids." Basically he said, "I would encourage you to stay together for the kids." Most people say, don't stay together just for the kids. And I understand that reasoning, especially when there's some abuse. I mean, when there's abuse or anything like that you've got to get out of. You don't stay.
Sin.
Habitual sin. You don't stay for the kids. But in our situation, you know, that was certainly a reason to stay. It was certain. I mean, hearing that from the friend of mine, because he said that his sister was in her 40s and still had effects of coming from a broken family. And look, you guys know we talk about redemption all the time, not just for the marriage, but God redeems those situations as well. And so we know so many families that have been broken and come, have divorce in their story, and God redeems those things. So we are not speaking down on that at all.
Right. We're just telling our story.
We're just telling our story. That's right. Why we stayed together. I think that's what the title of this is going to be. But yeah, that was definitely a reason. And then I think so much of mine was also, I really did. I heard from God that first night after the first part of the confession. I came home. I was prompted to go and look for ways to help heal our marriage. That's when I found the marriage intensive. And I mean, I'm 100% confident and sure that was God leading me to do those things.
Right.
And so, I've said before that I felt like God was saying, you have permission to leave, but I'm asking you to stay. And so between those two things, between God saying, hey, I need you to walk this journey. I'm asking you to walk this journey. Now, I also believe that, just like I said, God was saying, you have permission. I mean, it is in the Word, and you have permission. And if I had chosen that path, then I believe that God would He could still redeem my story. But instead, He chose, because He chose to redeem our story together. And so now
and you're saying we chose, but the first statement you said, He chose to change our hearts and bend our hearts in a way to where we decided to stay. And that, yes, people have a choice, but I also know 100% that God changed my heart that day to break it in a way that I saw who I was apart from Him and what I was doing. And I mean, that's a miracle that He did that. And I know it's because there were people praying.
That's right.
That I would be broken. And if you're listening to this and your spouse or someone is not broken for their sin and seeing who they are without the Lord, then you need to pray brokenness for them, that whatever it takes, God, break their hearts and let them see truth. Because I was so blinded to truth. The amount of sin and the amount of deception and the amount of convincing myself that what I was doing was okay, I couldn't see truth anymore. And I know that God chose, that He was chasing after me enough and loved me enough to break me.
Well, the whole, when it was brought into the light,
I
mean, that's when it happened.
Yeah.
And so that's why we are so adamant and we stress so much about no secrets. And, for us, because it became so public, then all of a sudden there were people praying for us that we didn't even know were praying for us.
Sure.
But when it was still in secret, God was chasing after you when it was in secret.
Sure.
But you could not see it, and the scales were on your eyes where you had no spiritual sight to be able to see that.
That's right.
But when it came into the light and people began to pray, then, man, that's when you saw that God was chasing after you, and you had to find out what this was all about.
Right.
And so, I think that there's a lot of people out there that they just dig in and try to journey and fight for their marriage alone. And I do understand that. Like, I understand the pain and just how scary it is and the shame and the guilt, all of that. But it is really, really hard to do it alone. And part of that is because just like what we said, there's not a community or even just another couple. Like there's, look, one power of someone praying, and maybe it is just another couple. Like maybe it's us, that because we've journeyed through this with lots of couples that we're the only people that know about it.
That's right.
And so, but there's something about bringing it into the light and even just allowing another couple. Nothing magical about our prayers that's different from any other believer, but we understand. And so we do take these couples to the throne. And so I think that's a big, what you just said, because you were talking just about how God chased, and then as people begin to pray, and it allowed you to change.
Yeah. And so in the question of why did we stay together, I think that God chose to, I think that he chose to break me in a way that I decided that you were worth fighting for. And he also allowed you to see me as a daughter of his that you could love well and be the hands and feet of Jesus to. And so that was a gift. I mean, he could have, you could have hardened your heart to me and been like, we're done, which there were plenty of people that said for you to do that. But you stayed tender to where God was leading you and not where the world was leading you. And so I know, and the ultimate answer to why did we stay together is because God had that as part of our story, and we both sought him in the answer for that.
And now I think about what we've done just even over the last weekend.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's plenty of times when I think, wow, this could have been so different.
Yeah.
And, we moved our second child.
Our last one.
Our last child. We only have two. We moved our second child into college, and we were together. And there were people in close proximity to us that were not together. And the awkwardness and the pain of moving a child in and the mom and dad are not together, that's just real. I mean, it's a reality.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure it was all over that campus.
Yes, absolutely. And so, for us to be able to go, the blessing of our child having us with him as he was moving in and taking this huge step in life of moving out of the house and moving into the dorm. And, how different that could have been. But it's not just that. You think about all along the journey and the things that have happened that would not have happened if we had made other decisions. Well,
and I think about walking into this home without either child, and I am definitely not going to cry again. I've got my makeup right, but I've pretty much been a mess today. But walking into our home, we walked in together, and that's a whole nother topic about preparing for being second honeymooners. But didn't we do that last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of.
Go back. Kind of. We talked about it on and off.
Go back to last week.
But what I was going to say is that would have been different.
Oh yeah.
That, we walk in just to an empty home, or, it just completely
to not have each other.
Right. Because this has been hard.
Sure.
It's hard. And so I can't imagine doing it without you.
Yeah.
And so just that would have been completely different. And, and then we came home to a great, great, great text message from one of our people that we've journeyed with.
That's right.
And read that. And that made me cry again because their daughter got baptized today, decided she wanted to be baptized today, made a profession of faith to follow Jesus. And I just looked at their picture of their 4 family together. after infidelity and just sobbed.
Yep.
Because I was like, they chose to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
And they're standing at the front of their church watching their daughter be baptized. Mm. And both of them are there and supportive of them. That's why we do what we do. And those are stories that can happen when you choose to stay together and you choose to honor God with your relationship.
Yeah, and today when we were talking about this and this subject, like that was one of the examples in the story that, you know, couples that have made the hard decision to fight for their marriage like that, then they have the blessing of what you just described in this picture of the four of them being together. Yeah. And it could have been so different.
Yeah.
And so there's obviously been milestones like that all along the way for us. And so, you know, the answer to the question of why did we stay together? Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of them, but I even think about just the whole plan that God had of this. I mean, we're in a room that we meet with couples, and we literally sat right over there and had, you know, couples from all over the world that were on a call with us so that we could encourage them through our story. And 13 years ago today, I mean, who would have thought that was going to be part of the plan? Right. We didn't even know if we were going to live in the same house ever again.
Right.
And here we are, same house, different purpose.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Well, I hope that our story is an encouragement and hope for people. And I know that even like on social media, like Heather's really been, you know, pushing that this is a story that so many people don't hear on a normal basis. Mm-hmm. And so they think they're alone. They think they're the only one. And then all of a sudden, man, there is somebody that's made it. And not just made it, but 13 years later, and we got to walk into a house, an empty house that's not empty because we're both here.
That's right.
And, you know, our door's going to always be open for both of our boys, and I'm sure they'll probably come back more than we even
could hope or imagine.
That's right. Hey, thank you guys for listening. We are very grateful for our listeners. We'd love for you to share this with somebody. It doesn't mean that your marriage is failing or that you've had something in your marriage like our trauma, because you can learn from the stuff that we are able to share and the hope that we're able to give. So share it with a friend, whether they're going through something tough or not, and you may not even know that they're going through something tough. So we would love for you to do that, because we just love for our message of hope to get in the hands and ears of more people. All right, thanks. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.